I'm here in Diamond Bar, California, Stop Brake Shops, and we're going to go look at some how to take brake drums apart, drum brakes, how to pull the calipers off on disc brakes with John Dover, owner, and his nephew Brian.
John Dover. I own Stop Brake Shops. Been here for 33 years. Started out as just a mechanic here and ended up owning it. Hard work does pay off. A lot of times when taking a brake drum off a car, they won't come off because they're rusted on, really rusted. So we take a ball peen hammer, we hit it. It'll pop loose.
Okay, what's this part right here, John?
These are the brake shoes right here. This is the wheel cylinder. This is what actuates to stop the vehicle. They actuate the shoes will spread out, hit the drum, and in turn stops the car. When they pour fluid out like that, that means it's got bad wheel cylinder. These are the brake shoes here. This is the wheel cylinder. The wheel cylinder opens up and actuates to stop the car. Actuates the shoes against the drum, and that's what stops. If you peel back this little boot and fluid comes out of it, like you see fluid there, that means the wheel cylinder is bad. It needs to be replaced. Back in the old days, we used to rebuild them. Nowadays, we just replace them. It's more cost effective. This little screw right here holds the drum in place during manufacturing. So they leave it in place, and people think that put it back on, and you don't.
So you're going to whack that one with a hammer too, John?
I'm going to whack it with a hammer. I think I'm using a different hammer, a cartoon hammer we call it. If you can find me my cartoon hammer.
Let's see the cartoon hammer.
It's a cartoon hammer. It's like every Bugs Bunny cartoon had this.
That would be called, in real terms, folks, the dead blow hammer.
Got it. Or a cartoon hammer.
Or a cartoon hammer. And that's how it comes off. Maybe this side you can see it a little better. The brake shoes. How about this wheel cylinder? Is this one leaking?
Well, let's see. Nope, this one's not leaking.
It's not leaking, but probably a good idea to change it anyway.
Yeah,
no?
change them both. They've both been on the car a long time. This side needs brakes worse than the other side. The other wheel cylinder wasn't working, so the shoes weren't wearing.
Yeah, so the shoes are these guys right there.
Right, and this one has about 70% left, and this has 0% left.
How do you tell how much is 70%?
This right here, a section of the brake shoe, never gets touched on the back shoe. It's brand new, so you look at that piece there and compare it to the rest.
Oh.
But this side has 0% left.
Yeah. So, again, a little help, real life experiences. Okay, now what John has done is you rolled his little portable pink tool cart over next to the car, and now he's going to take the front brakes apart.
First, let's start by pulling the guide pins. We'll pull both guide pins out. Take out both screws.
Using his battery-powered tool.
You might have to flex it a little bit to get some movement on it. So I just twist it sideways a little bit, and that pushes in the piston a little bit, so the caliper itself can slide off. The bracket here, the slides actually stay with the brackets. We want to test them to make sure they're moving and they're not frozen. If they're frozen, sometimes we'll have to replace the caliper, or you have to just take it apart and fix it. Give me a second.
Like John said, he's been doing this for a long time, and he can do this in his sleep.
So these two big bolts on the back hold the bracket to the steering knuckle.
And that's what the caliper rides
on.
on.
Caliper bracket. These are what the pads ride inside of. They slide back and forth to hit the rotor to stop the car. That's it. And the rotor itself just comes off like that. If you're
Pretty easy, huh?
If you're going to buy a new one, you just go to AutoZone or O'Reilly or wherever, your local jobber store, buy a new one, wipe them down, and it slides right back on in place, and in reverse order, put it back together.
Can you fix that if it was grooved up?
Some of them, the government sets a standard on how thin they can be. They're written on every rotor. And there it is. Minimum thickness is 22.4 millimeters. Measure it. If we have at least 20 thousandths, we'll be able to machine this rotor on the machine.
Which is obviously a lot cheaper than buying a new rotor.
Sometimes.
And of course, when you drop things, you've got to watch your feet.
Always remember, it's not my car.
Okay. And of course, money being the key, we always want to fix the car as cheap as possible, right, John?
Yes.
Okay, so now we've seen John take it apart. Let's watch him put it back together.
The rotor flops around a whole lot. It always gets annoying. So what I'll do is I'll take a tool, wrench, whatever, doesn't matter, take a lug nut, and just screw it on there. That holds the rotor in place. It doesn't flop around no more. The reason we're not replacing pads on this is because it's Brian's car and Brian's too cheap to replace his pads. So we're just going to put it back together.
And they're good.
Yeah, and they're good. Well, Brian's too cheap.
Okay.
So, yeah, we don't like doing things that, you know, if the car's still good, we don't want to sell a customer something that's not.
So basically what you're doing is just taking those steps and going backwards. You're putting those long bolts back in.
Big bolts in the back. Take your impact.
And of course, we're going to torque them, correct?
Yeah, we're going to torque correctly with this electric impact gun right here. Nice and tight. Because you don't want the brakes to fall off. That's tight. It's not going anywhere.
And so torquing's not really necessary there.
Not necessary. Nobody does it in real life. If some people tell you need to do it, I will always tell you, use an electric gun, you're not sure how hard it hits, I'll take a wrench, put it on the back, and make sure it's tight. It's just got to be tight. You make sure the pads are in their place, they slide in place against the rotor. You'll take your caliper itself and slide it back in place.
So and again, the caliper stays compressed.
It's correct. It'll stay compressed in there so you don't have to worry about it. You take your two little screws, and you don't hit them as hard, but you still put them on where they're tight. Because they're small, you don't have to lay on them so much. And it's it. It's tight and done.
So now in the real world, that's the way people do it.
This is the way we do it every day, day in and day out. This is it. Except we'd either machine the rotor or replace the rotor with new pads and so on. But that is how you inspect. The proper way to inspect them is take them off and look at things. Check for leakages, check for everything.
And of course, you should torque them, but nobody does.
Yes, you should torque them. There's a torque spec for every nut and bolt on a vehicle. Do people do it? No. But should you? Yes, if you want it done perfect.
Okay, now here's Brian, the helper. And Brian's going to go ahead because, as John says, I'm an owner, I don't rack cars, and I don't put wheels on. So we're going to get Brian to put the wheel back on the vehicle and show you how to properly torque the wheel. Okay, Brian, go ahead. You're going to line the wheel up. Again, lug nuts sitting on the hoist. This is real world stuff, folks. Checking to make sure everything's tight and good.
Oh, I'm missing the lug nut, that's why.
He was missing that one lug nut.
John must have done something with it.
John,
It's probably on his cart.
probably on his cart where he used it to hold that wrench in place so that the rotor wouldn't flop around.
And after 10 years, he kind of figured out where he's going to throw stuff.
It's only been 10 years, Brian? Sure seems like longer than that. So now, although John didn't torque the brakes back in the spot when he put the caliper back on, we're going to go ahead and torque the wheel because, as they say, torquing the wheel actually helps cut down on brake pulsation.
Now I just got to find my tools.
So, back at it, found his tools. First thing he's going to do is snug the wheel up.
I'm just going to get it close, just until it touches. I'm not going to even make any hardly force at all.
See, he turned down the pressure on the gun. All he's going to do is snug the tire up. Now he
Hyundai here, torque's at 80 foot-pounds. I've already got it preset.
and you heard the click, it means it's good. Notice the pattern he goes in.
Crisscross, next. Crisscross. Done.
And done. Would you like to say anything, John, to the students?
Yeah, stay off that truck out there that says Snap-on Tools.
This guy right here, you
That
mean?
guy right there will own your life till the end of time. Stay off that truck. That's the best advice I could ever give you.